Hello everyone, this is Tim with Online Big Blue, bringing you the best in New York Giants sports talk and entertainment. Well, the draft is only a couple weeks away, and everyone's out there debating who the Giants should pick and which player is the can't-miss player and which player is going to be the stalwart on the team for the next 10 years. And you know what? It's always great leading up to the draft and draft day and even going into training camp because every player has already reached their max potential in the eyes of the fans. It's not till we start seeing them play does our opinion with them either change the good way or change the bad way. And I was trying to think, and I was having a conversation with a buddy of mine, who were the worst first-round draft choices of the New York Giants? A lot of people are going to say Dave Brown from Duke, but of course, Mr. Brown was taken in the supplemental draft, so we're not going to have him in the equation. The next person everyone usually brings up is going to be Eric Flowers. Eric Flowers, again, I'm not seeing him being one of the worst draft selections of the New York Giants. I think there are other guys on this list that are probably even worse off than him. I could go back, and like I said, the problem is, especially with YouTube is more of a younger generation where people were probably born in the 80s and the 90s. I was not born in the 80s and the 90s. I was born in the late 60s. So I have a different perspective and a longer perspective in reference to terrible first-round draft choices. I can remember my father telling me stories about Larry Jacobson. He was picked in the 72 draft, 24th overall. The dude was a stud lineman out of Nebraska. Giants thought, you know what, we found our guy. This is it. He is going to be the player. He is going to be the Isaiah Simmons for us in 1972. But unfortunately, injuries cost Mr. Jacobson his career, and just 3 years later, he was out of the NFL. And then I was thinking, there are a couple other players that, interest me as some of the worst, draft choices. One of the ones I really remember was Cedric Jones, who we picked number 5th overall in 1996. We needed a pass rusher, and Simeon Rice was, he was already out the door. That was a Simeon Rice draft, and, we were going to get somebody, It didn't matter who the hell it was going to be. We were going to get a pass rusher, and we figured Cedric Jones, he was going to be the man. He was going to pile up the sacks for us. He was going to be that big rush guy, the next big thing. Well, the only problem was, and a lot of people don't forget, in the 1996 draft, some of the players that were drafted after him, Marvin Harrison, Ray Lewis, Eddie George. Think about it. Think about having Ray Lewis on the Giants as the middle linebacker. Think about that for a second. Let that fester in your head. Ray Lewis could have continued the Giants' tradition of fantastic linebackers. Instead, we draft a guy in Cedric Jones who turned out to be technically legally blind in one eye. He lasted 5 seasons with the Giants and accumulated a grand total of 15 sacks. Now, if you're Leonard Williams, that 15 sacks in 5 years probably sounds like quite a bit. But you know what? It's not. And then I'm thinking again some of the other players that we drafted that were probably some of the worst ones. And if you go back to the 92 draft with Derek Brown, number 14th overall, tight end out of Notre Dame, out of Notre Dame. Oh, we thought we had found the next tight end. We thought we'd found another Bavaro. We thought we were, we found the guy that was going to really just, blossom in the offense. Yeah, he had 11 receptions in 3 years with us. 11 receptions in 3 years. He did play another couple seasons in Oakland and Jacksonville, but the tight end that was going to usher us into the new passing future really had 11 receptions in 3 years. And then I go back and think because, a lot of people are like, well, we need to take an offensive lineman. Now, I'm an Andrew Thomas fan, but I remember back in 1974, there was a lineman who was actually runner-up to the Heisman Trophy. He was the Outland Trophy winner and the Lombardi Trophy winner. That's John Hicks. We thought that this dude was going to be the man, that he was going to anchor this line for years to come. And he started off really good. In 1974, he was the Offensive Rookie of the Year. But after that, again, injuries, poor play, and he lasted just 4 seasons with the Giants. And then we traded him in 1978, and then he never played again. We traded him to Steelers. So again, when we're thinking that we're going to hit the great prospect, the great, the great can't miss, and then you go back to the other can't misses. Think about it. 2000, Ron Dane. Ron Dane was going to be the savior of the Giants. We are going to have thunder and lightning. With him and Tiki. How well did that work out? He couldn't even get through the tackles. He couldn't hit the hole with enough authority. I mean, it was mind-boggling how bad he was at times for a guy that won the Heisman. I mean, I just find that extremely interesting. And then I was thinking, who else was a really bad pick? And then a couple people probably don't remember. We had Butch Woolfolk in the 82 strike shortened season. We picked him up out of Michigan. Stud running back out of Michigan. Had an okay rookie season. Good rookie season. His 83 season with Parcells was a wreck. He led the team in rushing with like 800 something yards on like 240 carries. He set the record in the Dallas game for most carries, which was actually kind of funny because then it was broken by Jamie Morris of the Washington Redskins, who actually replaced Butch Woolfolk over in Michigan. But then after that, in the 84 season, when the Giants turned around, he was relegated to the bench, and then we finally traded him in 85. And I love it because then in 1985, we picked a running back out of Kentucky, George Adams. George Adams, tons of talent. He passed the litmus test when you looked at him. He looked like an NFL running back. Never produced more than 500 yards in the season. He reminds me almost of the Jets' Blair Thomas. He lasted, he played, I think, 4 seasons for the Giants, and then he lasted 2 more with the New England Patriots. And then I was thinking back to the stories that my father told me about the Giants. Now, my father was a Giant fan, going back to the late 40s, early 50s. That's when he started watching the team. And he told me about a player that we drafted years and years ago who never played a snap for the New York Giants. And that player was Joe Don Looney. In 1964, we selected him in the first round, number 12 overall. Now, Looney had a kind of a weird career. He was heavily recruited. He went to University of Texas. In his first semester, he got a D and all Fs. And then basically, he got kicked out of school. They say he dropped out. Most people say he got kicked out. And he enrolled in Texas Christian University. And then he was eventually kicked out of school at TCU. And then he transferred to a junior college over Cameron Junior College. And then it was great then because he showed promise, he showed talent, and then he was signed, or he got another scholarship in 1962 with the University of Oklahoma. He led them to the Big East Championship, and then in 1963, he only played 3 games. And Bud Wilkinson, sorry, I can never say that name, basically kicked him off the team. Now, the legend has it that he got kicked off the team because he punched an assistant coach. I mean, that's a legend, though. And, Joe Don Looney was kind of an interesting guy because he was into, like I said, he was into the 60s, but he was also a guy that lifted weights. He took supplements. He took vitamins. He had the NFL physique. So it wasn't out of the he had the talent, and it wasn't out of the question for a team to take him in the first round. The Giants took him 12th overall in the 1964 draft. He was also drafted in the AFL, but he was taken in the 6th round. And I love it because Joe Don Looney lasted a grand total of 25 days with the New York Giants before he was traded over to the Baltimore Colts. He had so many issues with, oh, hold on there, we got the music coming in, and I don't know why, we'll have to delete that real quick, but he had so many issues with the Giants. I mean, it wasn't even funny. I mean, they say he basically had erratic behavior from the day he got there. And like I said, he was gone before the team's first exhibition game. He was fined so many times that a team spokesman said that he couldn't afford to play for us. I mean, he did not go. I mean, he just laughed at Allie Sherman's discipline. And, you know, he even said, if practice makes perfect, then perfection is unattainable. So why do I need to practice? I mean, it was crazy. I mean, he got a speech, evidently, our lecture from Y.A. Tittle. You know, it was basically, you know, shape up or ship out type of thing. And he basically got shipped out. I mean, it's crazy that you select a guy 12th overall in the first round, and he doesn't even play for your team. He doesn't even get out of training camp. He doesn't even make it to the first exhibition game. He refused to follow the Giants dress code. He evidently ignored the press, and there was rumors that sometimes that he didn't even show up for practice. I mean, he was traded over to the Colts, and then he went over to the Detroit Lions. And I love it because there's a great line from one of the players at Detroit. Said that Looney said that the coach asked Looney to go in with a play, and he refused to go in the game. And he told the coach that, you know, if the coach wants him to go into the game or bring in the play, he's better off just using Western Union because he's not an errand boy. I mean, so it's crazy when people think about, well, Eric Flowers is the worst draft choice and Dave Brown's the worst draft choice ever. No, Joe Don Looney. You literally play no games. You are with the Giants for 25 days before you get traded because you don't want to follow team rules. You don't want to listen to the coaches. You don't want to listen to the players. And you know, and like I said, if practice makes perfect and perfection is unattainable, then why do I have to practice? I mean, people seem to forget about that. With Joe Don Looney, you are my worst first round draft choice of the New York Giants ever. And like I said, if practice makes perfect and then perfection is unattainable, why do I have to practice? Again, this is Tim with Online Big Blue, bringing you the best in New York Giants sports talk and entertainment. And as always, if you could like, subscribe, that'd be fantastic. And thanks for listening.